Bundesliga side has to go out. Mainz have never reached the final. Bayern have been there more than any other side.
And Kimmich! A crisp finish.
Only one side can go through. It's going to be a tough fight.
Maisha ni mafupi, hivyo si vyema kumaliza muda mwingi katika malumbano. Hesabu baraka zako, wathamini rafiki zako na tabasamu ili udumishe amani.
Kupata maisha, bonyeza *811 *816 *811 *816 .
Dar es Salaam is my home, my city. I've been everywhere, seen everything. In Kiswahili, we say karibu. I bid you welcome. I'm a seasoned photographer and content creator. This is what I do on a daily basis. Come along and I'll show you my 5 top spots here to document daily life. So right behind me is Tanzanite Bridge. It recently got opened here in Dar, and it basically shows where Dar es Salaam is going. Really modern, but also creating spaces whereby people can exercise in the morning. So this place, I generally come and then capture some photos, and it's a perfect place to actually give you the first tip for today, which is composition. You can use the art of leading lines to capture a beautiful shot of this bridge. As you can see, there's a lot of lines leading to the top point over there of the Tanzanite Bridge, which is the Uhuru Torch, and the perfect place to actually capture a photo. The thing about this city is beautiful, and when you start seeing these old architecture, it's just amazing, man. Like, I would actually like to stop. Another tip that I can share with you is sometimes the contrast in a story is really beautiful, because now you have this old building and right behind there the contrast of what is now starting to change the entire city. So a good way to capture that. That's a wrap. Let's do it. Let's go to the next scene. The journey of growing up in Dar has just been an amazing one, man. I started exploring at a really early age, remembering playing with other kids in the streets, making those cars with whatever you can find. And that was kind of like an upbringing whereby I think it allowed me to hone in on my creativity. So I was doing a business degree, but I was teaching myself how to be a photographer. So right now, actually, where I want to go is I want to take you guys to my barbershop. When taking portraits, it's important to capture your subject in the right light. Think about where your light source is coming from in relation to your subject. I like to keep my subject in the foreground and ensure they are in focus. Capturing emotion and getting the moment just right are also key in getting the best results. Now we're at Central Park. It's one of my favorite places to actually come to eat. They have one of my favorite meals here. It's called the Lazy Waffle. And besides just the food, the ambience is great. So we just ordered some food right now, and I want to, first of all, capture some photos of it, give you some tips in terms of how you can actually capture some good images with your phone. And then after that, we will munch. Thank you so much. So this is a Lazy Waffle, and I want to give you a little bit of a hack. So generally, if I want to shoot with my phone, it allows me to have a lot more control over the images that I'm capturing. So it gives me all the ISO settings, and it has the grids over here, and I'm able to capture images properly with my phone, and it can capture it with a raw setting. So when I do it that way, I get more control over the quality of the images that I create. and I'm able to add a bit of a tone to the image before uploading it online. So perfect for editing your images and taking your images with your phone. Highly recommend it. Thank you for sticking around. There's one more spot that I want to share with you guys. So let's head there so you can check it out. It's one of my favorite spots to catch the sunset, enjoy the ocean waves here in Dar. Let's go. So like many spots, this is another spot a lot of the residents here in Dar come to relax and be one with nature. It's right by the ocean, so it's a great place to find calm, peace and calm. But it's also one of my favorite spots to actually capture photos. So it's been an honor spending this day with you, showing you all these 5 different locations, some of my favorite places here in Dar. I hope you got a few pointers of how you can use your camera better, you can use your phone camera better, and you got to see some spots today. So with that being said, asanteni sana, kwaheri.
I'm a painter.
At first glance, the paintings of this Nairobi-based artist seem to be colourful and bright, but they have a hidden secret.
Morning, it is indeed the last day of the longest month, if you ask me. That is the month of January. It is indeed KBC, and this is KBC News Check, a program that we've tailor-made to ensure that we keep you afloat on all the latest happening in the country and around you. A lot is happening. As they always say, the train has left the station. We're talking about the junior secondary, which the registration began yesterday. That train has left the station amidst a myriad of challenges, which we will be looking at. But away from that, also in the political scene, the temperatures are slowly but surely picking pace, and the political drumbeats keep on talking about this politics and this politics. We are talking about the government versus Azimio. With the days, looking at the last couple of days, a lot has been transpiring. President William Ruto now says that the opposition is blackmailing the government. And of course, the Azimio says they won't relent. They say they have a big dossier in regards to 2022 succession politics. And to make the matters worse is that Azimio say we do not recognize President William Ruto as the president. What does this say? What does this say to matters national unity? Remember, the presidency, as enshrined in the Constitution, is a symbol of national unity. Of course, the legislators, you haven't seen us host an MP for the last 2 weeks or so. They are in Mombasa, where yesterday President William Ruto paid them a visit, and he urged Kenyans to manage the expectation and his administration tackles the high cost of living, even as the government readies itself to table a 600 billion shillings revised supplementary budget in February. Speaking in Mombasa yesterday as he inaugurated the post-election seminar for members of parliament, the head of state urged the legislators to scrutinize the proposed allocation to suit the needs of the people. He also put the notice on tax evaders seeking to undertake government-related businesses. And talking about matters taxes, he said that there are powerful individuals who are funding the Azimio rallies with the so duty to scuttle the tax process. Let's hear what the head of state had to say yesterday.
President William Ruto spent the better part of Monday afternoon with legislators drawn from the National Assembly to affirm his commitment of a cohesive tenure even as the august House undertakes its mandate.
We cannot continue to take our disagreements to the judiciary. If anything, we are surrendering the legitimacy of the houses to the judiciary.
As he readies his administration to table a supplementary budget before Parliament in a fortnight, the President took the earliest opportunity to warn Kenyans that they may not find a reprieve in the near future.
It is true, we have a serious situation of cost of living. We didn't get here overnight. We got here because of a series of decisions that were not made in the right direction. We will get out of it by clear plans, interventions, and I want to promise you members that we have already registered 5 million farmers across the country. We intend to work with our farmers to grow our food so that we do not become slaves of imports. Each and every one of us must pay their part of taxes. Even if they sponsor demonstrations so that they don't pay tax, I want to promise them they will pay tax. There's no more exemption. This country is not the animal farm, where some are more equal than others.
The head of state further urged the MPs to make several amendments to the constitution to facilitate, among others, the oversight role of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, as well as the establishment of the office of the opposition leader.
We have crossed the Rubicon on matters parliamentary or presidential. I am a very strong believer that a government is as good as the accountability mechanism that has been put in place.
Addressing the over 350 lawmakers who are attending a 5-day post-election seminar, President Ruto underscored the importance of the Constituency Development Fund and called for patience.
I therefore ask you to be understanding and to work with what is actually possible.
We expect nothing less from you but conduct with extreme and absolutely admirable and unimpeachable decorum. Because you represent people, you carry their aspirations.
Juni Karisambele from Mombasa County.
And thanks, June, for that report, and that is also forming basis of what we'll be discussing here. So we'll be getting into that a little bit later on. And also, June is keeping a keen eye on that post-poll evaluation workshop in Mombasa, where all the legislators are, and yesterday the president talked about that. And also President William Ruto has laughed off claims by Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga that 3 retired commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, led by their chair Wafula Chebukati, visited his home before the announcement of the presidential elections last year. The president accused the Azimio brigade of playing to the public gallery, yet they failed to present the said evidence before the Supreme Court. Here's that report.
You The claims made by Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga on Sunday, alleging a meeting between him, retired Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Commissioner Wafula Chebukati, who served as chairperson, Professor Abdi Gulie and Boya Molu, before announcing the presidential election results. Odinga alleged that the three wanted certain favors from him, claiming he had pictures of a visit to his house. President William Ruto has, however, laughed off the allegations.
You had an opportunity to bring up this evidence of alleged bribery before 7 judges of the Supreme Court. You did not. You have instead chosen to take this big announcement to a political rally.
The president further accuses Raila of failing to substantiate his claims by revealing the intention of the alleged visit by the 3 commissioners.
If it is true, what were these officials doing in your house at your invitation? Being a candidate, how did you end up inviting officials of an independent body to your house?
This even as a section of senators allied to the Kenya Kwanza administration accused former President Uhuru Kenyatta of being behind the planned nationwide rallies by Azimio. Led by Nyandarua Senator John Methu, the senators claim that the retired president is pushing back after the Kenya Kwanza administration reversed tax exemptions given to businesses associated with him.
We cannot continue to operate in a space where those in power exempt themselves from paying taxes using all manner of instruments, while those who do not have as much power pay tax.
It is known, it is public knowledge, and it has been reported by including the media that in the former regime, tax waivers were a daily business. The most famous being the NCBA-NIC merger, in which the Kenyatta family got a waiver of 350 million.
Tumeshtushwa sana na kushangazwa na tukio ambalo linaendelea kuhusu maandamano. Kumekuwa na maandamano Kamukonji na pia Njakaranda, na hii maandamano yote mwenye anatumika ni Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga akitumiwa na Rais aliyestaafu Uhuru Kenyatta.
The senators announced an intention by the Senate Finance Committee to audit all tax exemptions awarded to companies in the country as they seek to unravel the extent to which exemptions had robbed the national coffers.
We want to tell Uhuru, we know he's avoiding to pay the 1.2 billion that we're supposed to pay. After having brokered the license for the 5G, he was given waivers for the taxes for the last 10 years. We are doing audit report and we'll place it on the house, on the floor of the house, and he must pay that.
I've also had me quote Anthony Maura, chairman of KRA. He's a chairman, and I think he's a patriotic man, that he was able to whistleblow that this is the things that the rot that has been happening in KRA.
Well, the political pot is simmering. We will be following keenly to talk about that report, and also they've talked about they will be tabling all the evidence and everything that they are able to get in the National Assembly. Well, the government, in regards to the junior secondary directive that secondary schools be domiciled in the existing primary schools, took effect on earnest on Monday across the country. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu led the distribution of junior secondary school books in public schools at Nairobi Primary School, marking the beginning of the second phase of the competency-based curriculum. And as Ruth Wamboi reports, private schools will have to buy the books as recommended by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development at bookshops, since the government will not cater to private schools.
The 1.2 GSS learners across the country begin learning. It will be interesting to see how the new competence-based curriculum unfolds.
Monday, the 30th of January 2023, pioneer grade 7 learners at Nairobi Primary School in Nairobi County had the privilege of hosting an unexpected guest, the CS of Education Ezekiel Machogu. The composed Machogu, who delivered his speech offered away from the norm, reiterated the government's commitment to cater for all junior secondary school learners in public schools.
Dr. William Samoei Ruto has disbursed a total of 3,164 million, which has purchased all the required books for grade 7.
Learners expressing their joy for being the pioneers of the competence-based curriculum.
I'm also happy that we are going to also be learning about digital sciences or computer sciences.
Example, the business and finances. When I grow up, I would like to be a businessman in the hospitals.
New things, and we're going to know more about life, and some activities that we do, it doesn't consider being in class. You do it outside of class.
Our departure time of school, we'll departure school at 4:30. So I'll get more time to revise the things I've learned in that day.
And with mental health taking a toll in the country, the Ministry of Education has warned school management against overstretching the learners with long learning hours.
We're going to allow that because once it continues, it's something that is going to affect the mental health of our children. We have given very clear instructions as a ministry and taking into consideration the coverage of the syllabus. The syllabus will be adequately and properly covered from 8 a.m. to 3:45 p.m.
County Directors of Education will be the ministry's eyes to ensure parents of JSS learners are not extorted.
Parents and the students not be required to buy other books out of the set that has been given to us by KCD. From next week, we are working very expeditiously so that we can be able to disperse the capitation for junior secondary school.
More than 1.26 million students have enrolled in GSS at a time when the Teacher Service Commission is still finalizing recruitment and deployment of the 30,000 teachers for the junior secondary schools.
Yeah, and still on junior secondary school admission, private schools across the country are pleading with the government for consideration in the ongoing distribution of learning materials for effective rollout of the junior secondary learning. The development comes as some parents are still mad with confusion on the future of their children's education as the competency-based curriculum transitions from the 844 system. Here is how different schools across the country welcome the latest level of CBC, the junior secondary.
As junior secondary schools opened their doors to students countrywide, Murang'a East Sub-County Director of Education Samuel Ruto said all learners across the sub-county have reported to their respective junior secondary schools. At Technology Primary School, a total of 163 learners have reported, with Pioneer School in Maragua registering 60 students who have reported for admission.
And I'm very happy that we got to join junior secondary schools, and I'm very glad that our uniforms were changed and we are able to be differentiated from the other students.
We allocated the subject last week, the year so planned, so this morning it was a normal teaching day for us. It was not a day for preparation.
What the ministry has advised that we get a laboratory from the neighboring secondary school. This one will make an MOU with the Murang'a High School to be able to access those facilities. They only need about 5 or so minutes to get to Murang'a High School to get to where the lab is, do their practicals and come back to the school. So those arrangements on how to use the shared facilities are actually being worked on.
At Talin Junior Secondary School in Kisumu, learners were taken through a robotics session for the first day of the junior secondary rollout. The school's director, Michael Oliech, pleading with the government to consider private institutions for the ongoing distribution of learning materials for a seamless rollout.
Request that we also be included in the issuance of the textbooks like it was done with the Tusome program, and some of the other programs that came before.
I want to achieve my goals to be a very good professor and a very good scientist when I finish my school.
In Laikipia County, a section of parents have raised concerns over the number of required subjects for those joining junior secondary.
Kutoka Thursday, Friday, Saturday na masimu, hata saa hii ofisi yangu hapa reception, wasasi wamejaa wakiniuliza maswali na wananipigia simu wakiniuliza watoto walifanya subject 11. Nairobi wanapewa certificate ya subject 11, lakini hapa kwetu wasasi wanapewa certificate, watoto wanapewa certificate ya subject 5.
In Migori County, junior secondary admissions kicked off smoothly, even as some schools lamented over a shortage of classrooms and teachers.
Secondary school.
In the neighboring Kakamega County, Area Curriculum Director Charles Ongondo assured parents and teachers of government support as school rushed to comply with the junior secondary set standards.
What we have urged the head teacher to do and others is that the curriculum designs are also being distributed by Kenya Literature Bureau. Before they arrive in your school, you can download the curriculum design from the KICD website, including the approved books, by the way. But I believe that by the end of the week, all schools will have received the designs and the books.
Elsewhere, Eastern Regional Education Director William Sugut has said the region is targeting to register 173,000 students to junior secondary schools.
Tunajiandaa vilivyo, walimu wakuu wanaosimamia kiwango hiki tayari wamepewa mafunzo, wamepewa mwelekeo katika kuhakikisha kwamba kazi hii inaendelea vizuri na tuko tayari.
And 187 schools in Turkana County have been approved by the Ministry of Education. Turkana Sub-County Commissioner Jacob Oma says preparation have been completed for junior secondary, even as he appealed for relief.
Na tunajua nafasi zilizoko katika shule zetu zinatosha kuchukua ile idadi yote, na mipangilio na utaratibu wote umewekwa.
The opening of junior secondary schools in Baringo County was characterized by a total disparity between the public and private school. A spot check at various primary schools revealed that most parents were in darkness over the requirements for the grade 7 students.
Some parents want a source of income, and majority of the parents wame concentrate na form 1. Mtu anasema I'm still to take the form 1 to secondary school, so they are not actually concentrating much for the junior secondary.
Indeed, it is a hive of activities at the Ministry of Education and also schools around the country. And we have seen the CEO of KICD there yesterday speaking about the junior secondary and more specifically in terms of the learning materials. And now we are crossing over to the lakeside city of Kisumu, where my colleague Wycliffe Okech is on standby with the CEO Charles Ongondo of KICD. Let's have that discussion. Wycliffe, you can hear me. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Ben Troy, back in Nairobi. We are, of course, coming to you live from Kisumu on this 31st day of January 2023, when this being the second day of the junior secondary school learners admission. This is the new curriculum rollout, and of course, there are issues that have to be explained actually to parents and also to the teaching staff. And with me here is the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development CEO, or rather the director, Professor Charles Ongondo, who is touring the Kisumu County in different sub-counties to administer the distribution of learning materials, that's the textbooks and also teachers' guides. And with me right now, I'm just going to engage him to help us understand exactly how this process is going by. This is a process that began yesterday, actually. Professor, if you can just move here, look into the camera and talk to the country regarding the rollout of this new curriculum, to be specific, the junior secondary learning.
Thank you very much, KBC, for giving us this chance to update the country on the rollout of the junior secondary school. As we know, the junior secondary is the third stage of the CBC, The first one being pre-primary level, where we have pre-primary 1 and pre-primary 2. The second one being the primary level, where we have grade 1 up to grade 6. At that level, the learners successfully finished and did their primary school assessment, what has been called KPSEA, where, as you know, learners were graded as exceeding expectations, approaching expectations, or meeting expectations, and the results are supposed to be packaged to inform the teachers who are receiving them at the junior secondary school. As an institute in charge of curriculum development, we are really celebrating this moment because we see learners joining a very, very critical stage when we are supposed to expose them to a very broad-based curriculum, out of which they can now choose pathways at senior secondary school. So for the first 2 days, yesterday I was in Western Region. I went to Vihiga, I went to Kakamega, I went to Bungoma, and we were so happy to see learners settling. Particularly, I am keen on the distribution of textbooks, and the places where I have been, they have started receiving textbooks. In this school, we have already received 3 titles, as I believe the head teacher will confirm. Other tracks are on the way because we have a way of monitoring even from our phones that they are being distributed. So we want to assure the country that learners are settling, and we believe that in a week, all the teething problems that are being experienced, like learners moving from one school to another, will have been dealt with so that learners can settle now to experience the full throttle of the curriculum.
Could you make it clear? Yesterday, when we were doing our spot check, we also visited private schools, and they were suggesting that they can also be considered in the distribution exercise. Is that possible?
Yes, that question of the private schools asking for books has been in the offing. But as of now, the official position is that the government is distributing textbooks in all learning areas to all learners in the public secondary schools. As you know, when you choose to take your parent to a private school, then private schools have their own other demands that the government may not be able to meet. But as of now, at least the government has started, because as you are aware, all the learners in this country, whether in private or public schools, examination fees are paid for them by the government. So it's something that could be considered later, but as for now, we are only distributing to public secondary schools.
We are aware that there is some money that is the government disbursed to the countries specifically for the rollout of the JSS admissions. And again, during the admission that kickstarted yesterday, there are learners or the parents being asked to pay some amounts. Like there is a school where parents were asked to pay 2,500 Kenya shillings for the admission. Is that allowed?
Our Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, has been very clear on this, that the government will be disbursing 15,000 shillings to every learner to take care of their learning. So we expect the parents to do what? Give children food, buy them pens, buy them exercise books like we have been doing as usual, but they should not be charged any other fees, because that 15,000 shillings is meant for that. And this is something that should be celebrated, because as you know, the head teacher here will confirm, what we have been giving primary school children is 1,400 shillings. Now that we are escalating it to 15,000 shillings, we should be able to handle all the tuition matters without charging parents any extra. However, I'm aware that the tuition is being disbursed this week, and let us face it, parents, if the schools ask you now for exercise books, that should just be in order, because the children have books that they carried forward. But I believe by the end of the week, I have information, the money will have been disbursed, and the schools will be able to provide for all other the tuition. But there are other things like mathematical sets that parents will be expected to buy as usual, a Bible and other materials that are not being disputed. But what we have said is let the children not be sent away from school as we settle the receiving of the capitation.
Apart from the materials, there is infrastructure, and there are parents being asked also to facilitate the infrastructural development in terms of building the lockers and also schools renovation. Is that the mandate of the parent?
No. I think let us make it clear, and our Cabinet Secretary and PS has been clear on this, that the 15,000 shillings that we are sending to schools will have a portion dedicated to infrastructure. Like already it has been clarified that 4,000 per child out of that money will go to infrastructure. That will mean laboratories, or what we now officially call the integrated learning centers, and any other infrastructural requirements. Remember that one of the reasons it was decided we host junior secondary in primary schools is that we already have a classroom that the learners will go into. And so the classroom, we are not building afresh. What we are providing for are other resources which are contained within that money. And I think the government has already committed that we shall review how much we can do with that money. And in due course, if necessary, the government may increase that amount so that we can take care of all the infrastructural requirements.
My last question to you regards the modules, rather the programs being rolled out for this, the CBC, the new curriculum. Yesterday, one of the head teachers of the schools we visited was suggesting that there are technical programs that will need the expertise of even the retired teachers. Let's talk about the music lesson. Is there a possibility, I know maybe this may not fall under your docket, but then could you see a possibility of some teachers, or rather even the retired ones, being recalled temporarily to ease with the rollout of the CBC curriculum in terms of the technical lessons like music?
As you say correctly, the matter of teachers' deployment is within the hands of the Teacher Service Commission. However, being a critical player in the sector, I am aware that we have some new learning areas. Specifically, we have pre-technical studies, we have performing arts, and home science that may require specialized teachers. Our advice at the moment is that the officers of the county, and you can see me here with Mr. Angela, the Sub-County Director of Education, we also have representation from the county office, will talk to the secondary schools nearby, because secondary schools by their nature already have teachers who are specialized in these special subjects to be able to support the primary schools around them. The other thing that I am aware the TSC is doing is to map the requirements of all the teachers across the country and be able to ask some officially to support the primary schools. If a nearby school has a teacher who is specialized in French, there is no reason they shouldn't come to support Migosi Primary School. If you have a music teacher, like here we have Jamasara Secondary School, right? Do you have Migosi Secondary School? Ken Obura, and there are so many secondary schools here in this town. Arrangements are being made so that we make sure that those teachers are able to support in the learning areas that are a bit special as we recruit more teachers. But I can also assure you that from our monitoring, we have realized there are so many people in primary schools now who are qualified to teach junior secondary. I'm sure Madam here will be telling us how many that she has who are qualified. The TSC has put on an advertisement that they should register very quickly. You will be surprised that our primary schools now have very many graduate teachers who gradually have not been promoted, but will be able to bridge this gap. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Troy, that is Professor Charles Ongondo, the CEO or the Director of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, talking to us about the whole issue regarding the JSS, that is the junior secondary schools admissions that kick-started yesterday. And like I've mentioned, we'll be visiting different schools within Kisumu County, different sub-counties actually, just to get to check how this whole process pans out. And we'll update our viewers subsequently in our coming bulletins. For now, let me just hand it back to you for the continuation of the show right now.
Thank you so much, Wycliffe Okech, there engaging the CEO of KICD, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, formerly Kenya Institute of Education, Charles Ongodi, the CEO, who has talked about a lot of matters education. And I would like to rope in my panel of experts. Beginning from my immediate left, we have, he's a seasoned political commentator here. He has been here for a while and he has been practicing as a constitutional lawyer, Gibson Gisore. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Ben.
Just next to him, we have Tall Stud Alenga, who is a political analyst and also a governance expert. Gentlemen, you've heard what the CEO has talked about. And from what I've been able to talk to hear from the CEO is that it's all systems go. And yesterday, in our bulletin, we did hear a lot of parents seek clarification. Others have a lot of questions. And maybe perhaps we can talk about that. Looking at what he's talking about, matters capitation, the distribution of books, which yesterday we noticed there are some challenges. And yes, with anything new in the country, we have to run into some challenges. But he has talked about capacity. And we know very well that we cannot be able to accommodate all the 1.2 million students in junior secondary, pegged on what the government said. Talked about 45 students per class. But what we are seeing and what we've been able to unearth as KBC is that some classes, some schools have to take more than the recommended 45 students. I would like you to touch on that. Sorry.
I think these are interesting terms, Ben Troy, in that we are trying to usher in a new era, which has never been there before. So I like the optimism expressed by the CEO of KICD, because I think the way he's speaking as a policy maker, and of course that being CBC being a curriculum thing, and it is in his domain. He has every right to speak as much, but that same sentiments I don't think are shared across the country. I think from a policy perspective, he feels that he has done that which is supposed to be done. But you see, issues logistics, issues capitation, those falls under different realms. So those are supposed to be administrative issues which are supposed to be carried over by the ministry, and of course implementation. So for him, I think he is a right to speak as much as he is speaking, because for delivery, I think he feels he has delivered. But you know, there is that bit of the end to end. I think that's where the challenge is, in that we need to see the ministry also coming in place and playing a key role, ensuring that the books, I think the minister was distributing books yesterday. If those books can be able to reach every destination of this country, and then of course maybe the challenge of parents are complaining that they are being asked to pay fresh fees. They are being asked to also pay some 20,000 for registration, which they are not even given a breakdown of what is this 20,000 going for. If we could be able to get clarification on those, and I think it will come in due time, but the minister has been very emphatic that you should not charge people any money because you've given money. But you know, Kenyans are Kenyans. They will always want to cut corners. They will always want to take advantage of vulnerable parents, because they are very vulnerable, because you don't want to go back to home with your kid that you will not be able to raise the money you are asked to raise. So that is the challenge we are facing, and I think with time it's going to be dealt with. So, but for now we have a challenge, which of course people have to speak out. If they don't speak out, then we don't get to know where the problem is. So I think it's a fair discussion we are having, and we are going to see as we go forward better decision making, better logistical issues being solved, and the books getting to school and the kids getting to learn. I think after the first term and the second term might be challenging, but I think eventually it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and Alenga, we've seen that there are a lot of challenges, and especially when it comes to infrastructure. And the government is talking about 15,000 capitation, and 25% of that, or 4,000, is supposed to go towards the infrastructure. And we're talking about labs, talking about classes. And we have seen the World Bank, the government wants to partner with the World Bank in terms of how they are going to be improving the infrastructure. And I believe this is something maybe we could have tried a little bit earlier, because the train, as we have said just now, has already left the station. These are the PPPs, or the partnerships that the government is seeking now. I think it should have come a little bit earlier, but well, we welcome any support that we can get to make sure the JSS, that's the junior secondary, kicks off well.
Well, Troy, in my opinion, I think there's usually it's always there's no wrong time to do the right thing. So if the government is coming in with partnerships from other communities around the globe that are interested in funding education here, that's a good thing. However, we also want to look at our own setup and how prepared we are for the changes that are coming, and what are the attendant issues in terms of onboarding into this JSS. First and foremost, for me, in my opinion, I think the junior secondary school is a very fantastic idea whose time has come indeed, because it offers you that break of monotony of, like, you know, previously we had kids going to primary school for a whole 8 years. So within 8 years, and this is a child who joined that school maybe at the age of 4 years, they do not really have something to look up to. Like, they don't have short-term goals to to drive them. And now if you know you're going from grade 1 to 6, then you will sit an examination. You know, that's a bit of a short period to plan yourself as a child, and then thereafter you're going to do another 3 years. So it doesn't look like a blocked 8 years the way it was previously. And then you're just going to school by faith, hoping one day you'll finish class 8 and go to secondary school. So it was really tiresome for the kids, and you know, that repetitiveness of the same thing all through, the same teachers, the same friends. So when we have that JSS, and maybe probably kids are going to come from other schools, you'll build new friendships, and then it continues to build on the child's personality and abilities. Then number 2, we must admit that this is a change that is happening, and it is a system change. So it will take time. We must be alive to that conversation that it will take time, and we must be able to be willing to go through that process. The teachers, the parents, and the students alike are going to be part of that change that is taking place. I think this must have been the same thing that happened when we were changing from 763 to 844. I think by that time the challenges were even bigger. I have met people who told me that they didn't have even textbooks to read. They were reading 763 textbooks, anticipating an 844 examination. And the year around 1989 and 90, there was very minimal people that were passing exams because of that particular change. But today I think we are a more informed society, we are more open society, and there are maybe better opportunities that are existing today that didn't exist by then. So we should take advantage of that. But most importantly, let us not put the whole burden of JSS transition to the parent, because I have seen some parents who are having a lot of complaints because they've been asked to pay others to the tune of 20,000 or 30,000. So I think I agree with Wakili's point that Kenyans have this queer habit of becoming, of capitalizing on changing moments to, you know, extort others and, you know, make a kill out of it. So you'll find there are some people who have already maybe lined up with schools in terms of selling uniforms. They will say that we are selling this uniform at this much, and, you know, it sort of seems to be a blocked figure. So even if you went to this vendor, they have already talked, all of them. If they are charging a blazer at 3,000, they are all charging it at 3,000. So let's understand that it's about our children. It's not really about the profits we are making, but it's about our children, giving them a future that is enduring.
Indeed. And Wakili, you will bear me witness that, of course, we are alive to the fact that there are a number of challenges with the JSS. And the minister, the CS yesterday, was quite categorical that you do not charge, schools do not charge any registration. But we know how that's going to pan out. But away from that, we are also alive to the fact that there's massive shortage of teachers, and even the TSC, the Kenya National Union, and all Kenyans, we have agreed indeed we have a challenge, and that is why the government came up with 30,000 teachers. But even TSC itself says that this is just a drop in the ocean. And not only that, we have vetting of schools, so that we may know exactly school A, B, C, D have can now admit junior secondary schools. Are we slowly picking pace, or should we, at this moment, the government should be quite keen on these issues? Because at the end of the day, the 30,000 teachers, there's a time we were doing a simple mathematics, and we saw that there are some counties who would not. If we have to divide them equally, there are some counties who will not get enough teachers, or any teacher as well.
I fully agree with you, Ben, and I mean, thank you for that question, because it's a question which has been discussed in the academic elite, of course. I mean, you're talking of junior secondary. What is this junior secondary? Is it being taught by, I mean, there was an issue that it's going to be based in secondary school, then later they said it's primary school. And there's that aspect that the high school has lost a class. So it's going to have a lot of teachers who are not going to have enough workload.
Yes.
So do we get these teachers to come and teach primary? Because now that the junior secondary has gone to, the TSC itself is also having the challenges as to who teaches here. What is their terms of engagement? What is their remuneration? Those are some of the challenges actually we are being faced. A friend of mine was actually involved with the coming up with the policy for TSC. I asked him these questions and he said, you know, those are the same questions I've been asking TSC and they have not gotten any answers. TSC is waiting for answers from the ministry or government, and government is also asking them, by the way, what do you think? So we are in that particular situation where we are not able to tell, because a while back teachers, primary teachers could go for diploma and degree, but the government came and stopped that. So when it stopped that, people stopped and actually stopped promoting them. So when that happened, it became a disincentive. But now they're saying if you have a diploma or a degree and you're in a primary teacher, you're actually going to be the first person to teach junior secondary. Are the terms going to change? What are the engagement terms? Of course, the curriculum is out. I think that's what I think the CEO is talking about. That one is out. But what they're not telling us, who is going to teach? How many are supposed to be teaching? Because there are around 14 units are here, which will, of course, be a lot of work. Who are these teachers? Do you train primary teachers to come and teach, or do you get the secondary teachers who have actually left, who don't have enough work at the high school to come and teach? Who is going, because they're being domiciled in a primary school, they're here, they're going to have even different board of management. So having a different board of management within the same institution, are you still going to have the same headmaster answer to two boards? Because those are key challenges which we've not been told. So if we're going to look at this thing wholesomely, the government needs to come out. I think we need a lot of stakeholder engagement, a lot of public participation, which ought to have been done before, because initially the idea was to be in secondary, but all of a sudden it changed to primary. That idea, the moving from secondary to primary, of course, I think is a good idea. After parents said we can't let our kids be, who are very young, to be so far away. So that actually is an aspect of public participation which brought to the fore a challenge which was live within this particular idea of CBC. And government should engage more with the parents and teachers to actually be able to find a roadmap. Because now it seems everybody is trying to run his own race, and we eventually want to win the same prize. And that is going to be a problem, and we are hoping that we get this answer sooner. I hope the ministry will be able to call upon all the stakeholders to a conference and be able to come up with a conference paper and agree on the way forward, or a common policy, because TSC is busy doing its own policy on the side. Curriculum development under KICD, you have had the CEO speak very confident that for him he has done his bit. The ministry is being challenged with issues of logistics, and now, I mean, all these things combined are going to be a nightmare. I think it's only better that they read from one script. I think the challenge also could have been because of the transition of the politics, but now there's no excuse. Somebody needs to be able to streamline the whole thing.
Lenga, let me pick from where Wakili has left. Indeed, there's need for clarity. I remember yesterday a parent who was being interviewed said that government needs to be clear in terms of the CS talked about there is no registration fee, but they want to know about the fees, they want to know clarity on the books, and they want clarity on the uniforms. And you have said that you had a parent talking about he was asked for 20,000, 10,000. These are some of the things that the CS did warn yesterday, but he didn't come out quite clear on those three aspects.
I think the space is now very open for rogue operatives to take advantage of the parents, and unless the ministry really comes up hands-on to ensure that this onboarding process is one that is seamless, it's flexible for the parents and the learners alike, and that a few elements that are trying to take advantage are actually brought to book. That's the only way that the ministry will be able to ensure that those incidences do not arise. Because like Wakili was saying, saying, the parents will reach a place where they will just complain, but then they can't now get their kids back home. So in the interest of just wanting to place their kids, they will bow down to those particular demands from the teachers of those particular schools. And also there's also another issue of some parents will not want to speak out because they do not want their children to be victimized thereafter. So I think it's as the government fully understands that this is a novel idea and it's their idea, and they are doing everything possible to make sure that it's rolled out in the most perfect way possible. So the government really has to be hands-on. I think I really like when I see like the CEO of KICD going out all the way to Kisumu to actually check what is going on the ground, because they need to have a clear picture of what is going on to report back to the ministry and the other attendant bodies the true picture of what is happening on the ground.
And let's have the last word on matters education before we shift to matters politics. And Gisore, you will agree with me that despite the fact that we have a lot of public schools, they are not quite endowed the same way. You find some public schools have better facilities than others. We're talking about a capitation of 15,000 shillings. 4,000 shillings should be used to better the infrastructure. And looking at these figures, if you're talking about 4,000 for a person in Nairobi, you cannot talk about the same thing in Kisii, in Vihiga, in Embu, in Meru, in Turkana. How do we harmonize to ensure that all our children, and especially those in public schools, do not get the short end of the stick when we talk about resources and the quality of education that they get?
I think that is upon the ministry to actually be able to come up with a clear policy to ensure that education goes to every Kenyan kid. And the ministers are quite a task to ensure that. It's really unfortunate to hear that up to now we still cannot be able to fund our own education. A country which has been free for almost 60 years, you could expect better, because Korea and the Taiwan and the Malaysia have also been equally independent for 60 years, but they're so far off. So there is something wrong which we have been doing, because right from the time of independence, I watched some clip way back. I think I saw the former first president of the country was talking of World Bank funding and doing 300 classes for the country. I mean, we cannot be talking about the same thing, but nonetheless, we need all the help we need, as Alenga said. That this is a very good move, that we actually need the World Bank or the stakeholders to come and help, because the ministry seems to be impaired, or we do not have enough fiscal amounts to ensure that we have enough classes across the country. Magoa tried, and I think he did a couple of classes within a short time. If the same spirit could be continued, I think within a short time we would end up with enough classes. It's only that in this country, for anything serious to happen, we need donations from an international body or a different country, which is really very sad, and that bothers me a lot, because even the courts, the judiciary, the constructions of these big courts you're seeing around is not through the government exchequer, it's actually through the World Bank. So that's where we are seeing those very nice infrastructure. But what I believe that the World Bank, whenever they come in, they ensure that there is standard work. That is one thing, that the standard of the contractors, and there is delivery. That we can be sure, as opposed to we give to Kenyan contractors who are operating with the ministry. Of course, we may not end up with any class at all. So it's a positive thing. It's a positive thing, and I think for checks and balances, we assure that through the World Bank, we are going to have enough classes, and we need to thank them anyway, because now we are at their mercies. We just need to work and hope for the best.
Indeed. Thank you so much. And that is where we wrap it up. When you talk about matters education, of course, we will keep a keen eye on what goes on today. The junior secondary did begin yesterday. And if you ask me, it's a good diversion from the politics that we have. And for the last 1 week, we've had some quite explosive politics. And that is what we are going to be discussing when we take a quick break, together with Gibson Gisore, who is a constitutional lawyer, and also Tolstan Alenga, who is a governance and also a political political analyst. We'll be attacking all that, the politics of the day, the Azimio and the government politics right after this short break.
I know I shouldn't have kept it from you. I know this wasn't right, but every time he shows up is when I need someone to comfort me, and I'm unable to push him away. Jenny, are you mad?
Mr. Bai, you have any idea where Julia is?
There is no rush, no rush.
Julia has clearly been overworked by Mr. Bai. Every day she's under pressure, and she has such a heavy workload. Not even Iron Man can handle it.
What happened?
Been waiting for 6 hours.
So unajua lazima ungepitia kwa ofisi.
Kwa nini hukuniambia uliuza gari yako?
Gari yangu iko kwa mechanic. Zelani?
Lulu aliona kwa ghetto na mtu mwingine.
Well, Melissa, unaweza tueleza jana usiku around saa 4 hivi ulikuwa wapi?
Kwa babangu, why?
Tunachunguza mauaji.
Melissa, what has she gone and gotten herself into this time? As if we don't have enough trouble as it is.
You guys are here wasting your time when you should be out there finding the people responsible.
Cheki Buda, sujibonge, nisaidie nisaidie.
Surprise for you, Nanny. For me? Oh, wow. Oh, son! What about Rodrigo? Rodrigo, I'm going to get him out of my head.
I came here to officially ask your father and his wife for Karina's hand.
Oligario.
Mrs. Ricarda, it's been so long.
What are you doing? What the heck is the matter with you, Sergio? My goodness. I have been very clear with you from the start. You're not supposed to touch me in any way.
It's the DFB Pokals round of 16. Mainz against Bayern.
Musiala, he's dug it out beautifully.
Onisiva back in. Alexander Hack. One Bundesliga side has to go out. Mainz have never reached the final. Bayern have been there more than any other side.
And Kimmich! A crisp finish.
Only one side can go through. It's going to be a tough fight.
The talented Miss Karun, former member of Camp Mula, aced her set with a fire performance. Time for Bien of Sauti Sol came, and from the minute he stepped on stage, the crowd loved on him.
Twende kazi, ama ni aje?
Chiki Kuruka is seen telling a girl off because this girl was just all over Bien.
Welcome back. Just in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check, and on this hour we are talking about the politics of the day. And you bear me witness that for the last 1 week we've been treated to quite a show of politics, both from the government side and also from the opposition, led by the Azimio Brigade. And the day before yesterday, we were also treated to some, yesterday, we were also treated to some drama. Yesterday, the president talked about, yesterday and the day before yesterday, talked about the rallies. He's talking about their powerful individuals who are financing the Azimio Brigade protest. And he adds and says that it's a ploy to distract Kenyans from the tax payments. And he says these people are the ones who do not want to pay taxes. On the other hand, Azimio, led by former Premier Raila Odinga, says that we need a forensic audit by the Commonwealth in the next 2 weeks, or else. He hasn't exactly given the other side of the coin, and that is what we're talking about. Allow me to engage you, Wakili. First things first, the head of state talks about the opposition is blackmailing the government. This is a very powerful statement coming from a head of state, and you earlier on we saw some of the senators there actually go head to head with the former president, say that it is Uhuru Kenyatta who is financing all this as a plot to scuttle the tax collection exercise. Wakili.
I mean, I'm laughing because these are very interesting statements and sentiments coming from the people in government, because you don't expect that. Don't expect. I think they're giving very high mileage to the opposition, and I think the opposition is feeling it. It's getting happy, it's getting excited, and it's making these statements so that they keep making the statements. And of course, with that, they're building the profile of the opposition. You know, at the time the elections were announced, the opposition was totally vanquished. Didn't have any voice. Every member of opposition seemed confused. They didn't know where they were. They are now trying to find their footing. With these statements, they are realizing, Kumbe, we are very relevant. We have just been sleeping on our laurels. Let's keep on. And they're actually putting, they're stepping on the gas pedal on that. And the government is actually now feeling the heat. And to the level that the president is actually making such statements, and the people from Kenya Kwanza making such statements, I think it's sad. We need to expect better of the people in government, because first, there are challenges which are which are with Kenyans, which they need to sort, because that's their responsibility. Nobody else is going to come, because that is the work they were given, the askirim they were given. Their promises they give to people on the campaign trail, we have not seen much of those being sorted. Now, if they start engaging in a tower of war with the opposition, which opposition has no mandate in running government, it means we are going into the political realms as we have been having them previously, and that's what Kenyans don't want. Because Kenyans are against the aspect of people politicking throughout the entire 5 years and not doing much. So the statements, I think, are rather unfortunate. I think the aspect where they say that the former president who is funding, I think, I mean, they need to provide the evidence. I don't think the former president is also foolish to also do something of the sort, because all they need, I think, is to just to push him, because he's still a member of Azimio. I think they want to just him to make a statement to denounce Azimio, because why will the president appoint him to a different job if he feels that he is blackmailing him, and the guy is still earning from government? So, I mean, you know, you need to weigh these things and see the politics behind it, so that even if that were to be the case, then that nothing stops you from because the other statement he made in Central was that it's the cartels who are behind the coffee, the milk, the tea, who are also funding. So which is which? Is it the former president or the cartels? And who are these people is not naming clearly. Who is the president? He should actually be pointing out these people and stopping this cartel, because he has such powers which has been given by Kenyans.
And talking about mentioning, I remember also the former Premier Raila Odinga talked about there's a dossier by one of the employees of IEBC, and more, he added and talked about Chebukati visiting him together with 2 other commissioners. These are some of the things that, just like the president said, during the case at the Supreme Court in August, you should have brought all this out.
I think for Raila, I think he's just playing politics. You know, he's a good politician, so he sits back, hears what people are saying, and of course he has his own version of the truth. He mixes both to deliver a political message which is going to endear with the Wananchi. And he's good at that, so we can give it to him that, I mean, he's a talented politician. So once he speaks that, of course, it demonstrates that there's some truth to everything which has been said, which is, of course, in the public arena. And once he does that, and, you know, he speaks to his royal fans to the heart, and they feel like, yeah, I think these things are true. And, you know, that is all he needs to throw the government into confusion. And we have seen really the government, of course, now jumping up and making all sorts of statements which we cannot be able to verify. Which I think, I mean, the president invited the opposition to come and check him, and, you know, they're doing their thing. So I don't think it's upon him to also start checking them back. Okay. It's upon him to actually deliver to Kenyans. That's what is important.
Tolsten, I'm going to take it a few steps back. Before the election, President William Ruto was elected on the platform of bettering the economy, lowering taxes, the hustler narrative. Now he is the president. And if we look at inflation and look at the cost of life back then, if we look at the cost of electricity, fuel, before election, it was far much better than what we have right now. And the opposition could use this as their basement or their foundation to push their interest, because high cost of living is still there. We talked about when the Bible is down, the cost of living is going to come down. It has gone high. We look at electricity is going to come high. We have some public participation. It's a matter we're going to be touching on a little bit. But the opposition could use this as their solid foundation for this protest. What do you think?
Troy, you know, in the 16th century, there is a term that came into the English language. It's called Potemkin villages, and that means building facades. And so there was a very senior ranking official of the Russian government called Potemkin, and so he used to build villages that have been like made of cardboard by very good artists. So when people are visiting his city, he tells them, you see, the houses are made for the poor. These are now just the poor people. These are not even the ones in affluence. So people would look at the artwork and like, wow, this is amazing work. So clearly, this government of William Ruto is professionals of building Potemkin villages. Everything they told the hustlers, and I want to look at the hustlers in the face and tell them, everything they told you is a facade. They told you that the price of unga will dramatically fall. It has not fallen. The price of fuel will fall. It has not fallen. Instead, it's gone higher. They told you that the taxes will be reviewed. In fact, more taxes have been added unto you. So your suffering is here as the hustler nation. And that is the government you're going to be with for the next 5 years. When we come to the other shenanigans of who is funding who, I think the president is just a man in a dark room chasing a black cat that is not even there. They got the mandate, you're in government. Now you have to turn around the clock and, you know, those fantastic things you're telling us in the political rallies, that manifesto, sit down to it and implement it. But if we continue...
Just kindly hold the thought. Let's first of all cross over to the Serena Hotel, where the CJ, Martha Koome, is currently addressing a gathering in regards to a woman in law and leadership seminar there. Let's first of all cross over and hear the CJ.
The poor, to the women, to the children, because I know what potential lies there. What potential lies there which is not tapped. But when we hold the hand of a child, and I like the posters that you have put up this morning, this one in particular, this is what Justice Effie Award did to us, with Justice Award. The women we found in the profession when I became a lawyer in 1987, Lady Justice Nancy Barasa, Lillian Mwaura, people like Martha Karua, this is what they did. They extended their hand to hold us so that we can take the next step and the next step and keep climbing. And what we are doing today is to maintain that climb that we have done over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. So it's obvious that women have the power, women have the foresight, and that our mothers and foremothers are and continue to be powerful promoters of women. Justice, we all know to some extent the work you've done as a women's rights activist. Your reign as Chief Justice, we will predict is going to be one of the greatest in Kenya and across the continent. But we know that there are still challenges you deal with every day. Personal challenges, professional challenges. And there are many women here today thinking, well, I cannot be like her. There's something we know that we all as humans fight with, which is the imposter syndrome. And we will kindly ask that you come out a bit out of the protocols and judicial protocols and tell us a bit, do you know that monster called imposter syndrome? And if so, how have you dealt with it?
I have never felt myself as an imposter. If somebody has ever felt that I am an imposter, I just forgive them. Why would I feel I'm an imposter? I'm a Kenyan. I'm a child of God. I am here as of right. So what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to claim the space that we are occupying and sit squarely there and say that we are here as of right. It is indeed difficult, especially when you climb on top of the mountain, to maintain that attitude. But what I do every day is that I give thanks to God for the grace of being alive and for the great opportunity He has given me to serve the people of Kenya in this high office of the Chief Justice. Then I have an amazing team of people I work with. I have judges in the Supreme Court who are a great team. We have organized ourselves and given portfolios to everybody. I have judges in the Court of Appeal, High Court, Court of Equal Status, magistracy, judicial staff, great, wonderful people. We have decided to share the dream of the judiciary and how we should deliver justice to the people of Kenya according to the Constitution. We have a great Constitution that promotes, protects, and inspires us and encourages us to always focus on the best interests of the Kenyans and the people that we serve. So what else do you need? The Constitution affirms us. We, the judiciary, when I was appointed as Chief Justice, I received so much support from my sister and brother judges, from the magistracy, from the bar, from retired people, judges. Indeed, I was encouraged to become a judge by none other than Justice Omoro, who is seated there today. He was then a Court of Appeal judge, a male judge, but we worked together in a program called GJ Rose. And he saw how passionate I was on the issues of reform and transformation. And he asked me, would you like to be a judge? I had never imagined myself a judge because I used to think my sisters are so formal. They used to tell us to dress in black all the time and to look very formal, so I was wondering, now will I survive? But I said, because I, as a woman lawyer, We have been queuing in those courts forever, seeking justice, especially for the vulnerable, the women and children. I had stood in those corridors until I had developed varicose veins. And now this is an opportunity. I'm being invited to become a judge, become the one to make those orders I've been seeking. I said, yes, I'll give it a try. And I've never looked back. It is now 20 years since I became a judge. It is a great country that we serve. This is a great, great country, full of opportunities, full of hope. And it is a country which has reared a girl from that village to the level of the Chief Justice. We must celebrate being Kenyans. And if there is somebody who is not positive, who is not happy, who is feeling bad about me, you call it imposter syndrome.
That is the Chief Justice Martha Koome and the leader of one arm of the government, that is the judiciary, and also the president of the apex court, that is the Supreme Court. And they're talking about women in law and leadership, and still on some of the things that have been tied to that, because she has talked about how she got support by fellow judges and also the judiciary fraternity when she took over as the first woman CJ of the Republic of Kenya. Yesterday, there is a report, an audit that showed that 208 women were elected amongst 1,477 men. The audit also shows that 10 counties don't have an MCA elected, a woman MCA elected. They have only nominated MCAs. And that, of course, is something that we should be able to be looking into if we have to actualize the gender rule. And you do remember that we had also a recommendation in the last parliament for it to be dissolved because there are not enough women in that. And maybe we can touch on that as we go on with that. Tolson, before we left, you were on a point, but before you finish up your point, I kindly want you to touch on the women representation. Just as CJ is talking about, there's a lot that still needs to be done.
Yeah, I think the issue of women representation is one that we have to look at it from very many perspectives. Mm-hmm. Number one, I have always said it is very expensive and demanding for a woman to get an elective position. Mm-hmm. Sometimes women have to work even 3 times more than their male counterparts. Mm-hmm. And then there are also other issues that surround the whole world of politics and women, their expectations that the community has about women. Mm-hmm. And once you thrust yourself into politics, people start viewing you differently. Mm-hmm. So can we come to a place and time where we look at women as leaders and we gauge all the leaders that we have, both men and women, as equal persons before the process. Mm-hmm. And then we can now choose who will lead us from a point of their ability, character and personality. Mm-hmm. Number two, it's about the issue of funding. It's still hard for women to access funding for political activities, and also you cannot really find organizations that are there to maybe support women in politics and empower them in terms of training, in terms of capacity building. Mm-hmm. And even funding. Number three, it's also the whole issue of what have the women that have gone into that space showed in terms of motivating other women into vying for those positions. Mm-hmm. Or do they go there and then they turn into something totally different than even the women sitting back home say, if this is how politics changes someone, then I don't want to get involved. Mm. So it's also up to those women that have been in leadership positions already. Mm-hmm. to inspire the generation behind them. And you'll remember notable women like Dr. Julia Odhiambo, mm-hmm. Ojiambo, who got into politics and they played their politics with a lot of dignity, respect and decorum. Mm-hmm. That during that period, then very many women were yearning to be part of politics. People like Wangari Maathai, people like Martha Karua, they have always, been that motivating factor for women who want to venture into politics. So it's up to those women that are in politics already to expand the space so that it accommodates other women who are outside there, and then to, you know, lead by example so that other women outside there do not fear politics, or they do not say that when somebody gets into politics, they change, they become more like women, they are rough, they are all this, but they still maintain being a woman and, you know, giving that missing ingredient in our politics, because our politics is mostly male driven, and male driven we have it comes with characteristics or features of hardline stance, chaos and all that. So we would actually need a lot of women into our political space so that they neutralize this polarization brought about by their male counterparts.
And still on what you were talking about earlier on before we crossed over to the CJ, I would like you also to touch on what the Azimio leader, Raila Odinga, talked about, want an audit, and they want a forensic audit on the polls, but to be done by the Commonwealth. And I do remember is a few days or a week ago, he told the foreign community that they should not meddle in Kenyan politics. And now you want a Commonwealth, which is largely foreign, to audit our own elections.
I think in the countenance of the law, what the former Prime Minister was asking for is not practical, because the international community has no jurisdiction to audit election outcomes of independent countries, or rather republics that stand on their own. However, it's a political statement that is a precursor to another statement, and if you listen to the full context of the speech was that if they do not do so in the next 2 weeks, then Kenyans are going to take things in their own hands. So I think the second statement is what is important. The other one is just a curtain raiser. You know, create an environment that looks like, yes, before we went to the streets, before we did this, we actually implored or entreated the whole world to come and check out and see and address these particular injustices. However, what we need to discuss is, does Raila Odinga have a valid point or not? He indeed has a valid point. We have come from an election that embarrasses us, because you can imagine you come out of an election conducted by a chair of the IEBC who was deeply indicted in 2017, and even after the 2017 election, we had commissioners resigning and citing that it was difficult to work with this man. And then we had an officer, a senior officer in that commission, killed just before the election, and Kenyans, being of good manners, we still went into that election knowing that the person who was holding the vault has been killed. After that, we had even a commissioner fleeing the country, and then in the backstage of all those shenanigans, his term is still renewed. We see it is fit for him to conduct the election, the election of 2022, and after he has conducted that election, he reveals to us very saddening things, that actually he was approached by NSAC, who wanted him to change the results of the election. When asked, did you have these results at the time you were discussing? No, we didn't have the results. Had you seen who was leading? No. So what was NSAC wanting to change if you didn't have the results? And then number two, even if you agreed to change the results, what is the procedure you are going to use to change the results? Because you have told us that these results were being pushed to the portal where everybody was seeing what was happening. So how would we change that which you have put to a portal that is public? How would you revisit that portal and start changing it? So he was actually telling us covertly so that maybe results can be changed, because people cannot come and discuss with you that which they know cannot be done.
Yes.
And so if that is the entire atmosphere we are operating in, and then how do we even trust you? And then after the elections, this man is awarded the highest honor of the land, Order of the Elder of the Golden Heart. That is the highest award in this country. So we are awarding him exactly for what? for performing his duty that, you know, he was supposed to announce the president, the winning president. So he does that, and we term him as a hero. Actually, there has been lots of conversations where he's been looked at as a hero. What is that battle that he fought? Are we just now throwing the word hero to every Tom, Dick and Harry that comes into the space? So you can imagine if you are having a football match which ends and one team wins, and then the team that wins awards the referee for being the best referee in the whole world.
Okay, that's laughable. Okay, that's an interesting way of seeing it. Wakili, he wants the forensic audit done by an independent body, and he even mentioned the Commonwealth, and he has trashed the DCI. He said, why should even the DCI be probing all this? We want an independent organization to probe the election, and he doesn't recognize. That is quite damaging to the national unity, based on the fact that the presidency, as enshrined in the Constitution, Wakili, is a symbol of national unity.
I think
and the senators coming in with the others. Where are we?
I think we are in that particular season where we are already inviting politics 101 into the governance of the country, and that's why I said it's still very sad that at this time when we're supposed to be strategizing on seeing how our kids get to school, how our fuel goes down, how our roads which stopped should be able to be revisited, and we'll be able to come up with better infrastructure. We are busy now talking about very funny things on how to invite the Commonwealth to come and check our election, which is not even constitutional, because I don't know which basis that is going to happen, because we are a constitutional country which is governed by the rule of law, and our constitution does not allow us to cede our sovereignty to different entities to come and tell us what it is that we are supposed to do. There is a clear mechanism on how to engage the foreign powers or foreign bodies, which I think it's politics. As you've said, there's the aspect of him mentioning that, and of course, as Tolstad has just told us, that there's a precursor to that statement. That statement was just supposed to be thrown out there so that it stops something else from happening. I think what he was aiming at stopping is the aspect of DCI trying to probe, because we've actually been told that during the last Supreme Court hearing, there were some evidence which was tendered to the court, which was actually not very good evidence, and which, of course, bordered aspect of falsehood or fraud. And that's what the DCI actually, even the CJ, while reading the judgment, I remember she actually cautioned some of the advocates who are actually involved and told them, you should never do this, because you are advocates who have taken an oath to say the truth, and when you start authoring documents which are actually, you know at the back of your mind they are not very credible documents, then that will lead even to you people being punished. So when the DCI starts looking at your people that way, you are bound to come with another thing, which is, of course, to tell people that, you know, the DCA is not competent to look into these things. We have even a better question, a better allegation, which should actually be looked at by not even the DCA, by foreign powers, so that you stop the process from and I think it's very sad. We just need to let the elections be. Of course, we need to audit it using our own particular mechanisms, as we ought to see it fit, for purposes of posterity, because what happened, as Alenga has correctly put it, it was very shameful for us, and we do not actually deserve to have an election which brings so much shame to us as a country. So we need to audit the systems and look at it from a better perspective and come up with better laws, better policies, and better people, because remember, most of the commissioners have left, so we need to have a clean people come to office, and this is the right time to actually discuss such things. But in the midst of discussing such things, of course, there's mudslinging which is happening, so that we lose focus. So we actually need to be very careful as we go on with the process. We may drive it in a very clear manner, though, that we end up getting what we want as a country, and not engaging in side shows as it has started to come out.
Indeed, and if we look at what has been said and look at the social media, we see that a lot of people are talking about the government more or less taking this as more or less like a sideshow, because they know that they have failed in a number of things. One is the things that we had been told about. We're talking about taxes, lowering of taxes. We're talking about the high cost of living, which the Kenya Kwanza government really traded on that, and they were elected on that. We are also talking about the high cost of fuel and high cost of food, and that is still there. And is it okay if the opposition say this is just a plot? This is just a plot to just shift focus from the main things. They have not done anything. We almost, 4 or 5 months now? Alenga?
I think we are at a difficult place as a country, because if you try to take time to analyze what is happening from a very fair perspective, you'll realize that this country is on autopilot. And that is the reality, because one of the issues that were highlighted by the Kenya Kwanza regime as they were campaigning to get into office was the high cost of living. If you ask any Kenyan, whether, from whatever divide you would wish, whether they have actually felt a drop in the prices of common commodities, the answer is no. If you tell them that their electricity is now going to 78% more than what they were paying, what is that really? If you look at the tax regime that is going higher and higher, becoming punitive each and every passing day. So then you ask yourself, what was this plan that the Kenya Kwanza regime was telling us to plan, And ideally, even if you look at the setup of the cabinet that the president has, it was merely an issue of rewarding, people that stood with him. And in one of his speeches, I think in Tharaka Nithi, the deputy president clearly said, he was trying to enumerate whom they have awarded, and he was saying, in this particular area we have given so and so, we have given you Kithure Kindiki, we have given you even the police boss, we have given you the DCI boss, so we will continue to give you more things. Kuna mambo bado inakuja, that's what he said. Yeah. So clearly, this was a government that is out to reward, and then so after sitting in office, then we'll start figuring out, now what do we do? We now have the powers. What do we do with it? I am the CS for agriculture. What does actually a CS for agriculture do? I'm the CS for interior. What do they do? That is why the issues that were there are still piling up on us. Do we have a change in the insecurity in the regions that had banditry attacks and all that? In fact, they've gone higher. In fact, the bandits attack on a day when the CS has been there. When he leaves, they attack. So what are we really even solving? But on the contrary, the president is ready to answer Raila Odinga any minute he speaks anything. Raila would speak at 12, by around 2, you have a response from the president. How if he just had the same speed and agility while fixing countries' issues?
Okay, indeed, and let's take a quick breather, but we'll be back with more. Don't go away.
The talented Miss Karun, former member of Camp Mula, aced her set with a fire performance. Time for BN of Sauti Sol came, and from the minute he stepped on stage, the crowd loved on him.
Twende kazi, ama ni aje?
Chiki Kuruka is seen telling a girl off because this girl was just all over BN.
I want to show them my attitude.
Ya bwana, ni chuo kikuu cha burudani, mashavu.
Nyumbani kaumbea.
Burudani.
Twendi tukacheze bango. Mama it takes two to tango.
Na interview kali kutoka pwani.
Nakucheza nawe. Baby nimechizi nawe.
Na ukitaka tuiwashe leo.
Bwana, kila siku ya Friday ama Ijumaa ukipenda saa 3 hadi saa 6 kamili.
Fanya kama unacheza isoko.
Kumbuka hashtag Masha. Nyumbani kwa burudani. Usikose tegea show kali tokea pande za pwani.
Maisha ya sahaba Abdullah bin Umar radhiallahu anhu, kama tulivyoweza kusikia, ni kuwa yalikuwa ni maisha ya kumpendeza Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Namwomba Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala atuwezeshe sisi kuwa wenye kufuata vielelezo vyema katika jamii na pia mifano mema kama ya Abdullah bin Umar radhiallahu anhu.
Survivors. I said there's no way out. Nothing left, take a judgment. No way. I got it up in your I'm living a dream. You seek of only vanity and no love for humanity shall fade away, fade away.
Welcome back to News Check, and we are now on the last minutes of the show, and allow me now to introduce another panelist. He's Peter Amunga, educationist by profession, but also a very fierce politician and also political. And you are a very staunch supporter of Azimio. Even we were analyzing this before Kenya Kwanza, apologies. And we were analyzing this before even the election, and now you are in government.
Yes.
You're in government. I want you to take on the blackmail.
I love that.
The head of state said that the opposition is blackmailing us. Well, the opposition says that this is just a ploy to distract Kenyans from the real things. You haven't been able to do what the government said it was going to do. I would like to pick your mind on that.
Of course, being part of government and also using facts and logic. When you look at really what's happening, the timing, why the leader of the opposition can come from a trip abroad and straight to the airport and is able to mobilize, and when you look at the substance of really what he's talking about, you discover it's not something that you really can take home about, or it's either legal or something constitutional. It's all about things like how the chairman of IBC visited him in his house. We find it to be some kind of the normal drama that happens whenever the leader of opposition loses. So we are saying there must be a sponsor behind it. There must be some faceless people behind it. And we have proved it. We saw an MCA from Korogocho. He's already arrested. We saw him spewing words that you can't speak to anybody, you know, words that are tribal, incitements. And what we are seeing is that somebody wants to return us to tyranny. But as government, we are saying we don't have time.
But
we have
the mix
things
of
to deliver to Kenyans.
Amunga, in
Yes.
the mix of all those, there are some pertinent issues which have arisen. Yes, the government has not been able to bring the cost of life down. Now we are hearing about the cost of electricity, which is about to go up from beginning of April.
Yes.
If at all the recommendation to April are anything to go by. Those are some of the pertinent issues that they campaigned and the Kenya Kwanza government campaigned using. And nothing has happened.
Oh, don't say nothing. A lot of things have happened in the last
Kenyans want something they can see.
First of all, the Hustler Fund is already in place right now. I'm sure my brothers here must be beneficiaries. Then apart from the Hustler Fund, already the junior secondary...
You've come to the wrong show.
No, the junior secondary school are already on. We're already having our children already arriving in schools. We are already seeing a lot of, we have seen the judges, the judiciary. We saw Justice Muchelule, the people who had been left out of the judiciary. Right now they are seated on the bench.
My point again, Amunga, is a Kenyan, me being a Kenyan, want to see something moving, you see? I want to see something, either cost of life or cost of living or cost of fuel or cost of food coming down. But whatever you're saying is peripheral. If you
it's not peripheral. Njue, the same people who are making noise at Jacaranda, the same people who are making noise at Kamkunji are the people who led us where we are today. The ditch we are in today, financially, economically, was brought about during the handshake. The borrowing that we are talking about started off. We found, as the deputy president...
But we've heard that there's still some more borrowing, eh?
Yes, we found the economy was ruined down. Actually, as we speak, the first things first, when we were campaigning to take over this country, there are things we didn't know. Sometimes you need to enter the house to discover some of the things that are in that house. When we got in the house, and the deputy president has made it very clear, it's not a joke, it's not comedy as my brother thinks, it is a fact. We found the economy down. We have proof. We have talked about state capture. We have talked about all these things that people are not paying taxes. Things were happening behind the scenes that you cannot imagine. We have families in this country that owe this country 1.6 trillion in taxes alone. So when the president goes to Mombasa like yesterday and tells Kenyans that what we are seeing here are people who refuse to pay taxes, it is a fact. We have evidence. And the first things first, what walipe ushuru. You can't come to lectures on this kind of show when you are not paying taxes. We want taxes paid first. Then we can talk about the consumer.
Amunga must be stopped because before he spreads a lot of more propaganda, and he's very good at that. Amunga, let's just look at these things from a very simple perspective. If Raila Odinga was being funded by anyone, including myself, if I had the money to organize for those rallies, and is it wrong? It's not wrong.
You can be
for political activity. It's very constitutional. Actually, for political mobilization, for political rallies, for dialogue, for the freedom of association and conscience, you can be funded by anyone to do anything. We are not talking about there was an attempt to topple a government. That's now a different conversation. But if you are getting facilitated to gather people in Kamukunji and speak to them, that is well within the purview of the law. And there's nothing wrong about that. And the president is sitting on the throne today because there are people who funded him. He's not going to tell us he got money from his pocket to win the presidential election. So for every presidential conversation, there are people who fund, and that's a fact. Why are we looking like Jerusalem is on fire?
All right. And Wakili, I would like to pick your mind on the same, because it's a good thing that you also mentioned it is in law.
Before I forget this, the president has all the power to bring everybody that is evading taxes to accountability. He doesn't need to joyride on an MP's meeting in Mombasa to tell us as a country. If he has a list of those people that are tax defaulters, go for them. Uhuru Kenyatta knew that Keroche was not paying taxes. He went for Keroche. He knew that the other Tiger brand was not paying taxes. He went for them. So when you know the people that are not paying taxes, go for them. Don't tell us. You have the government machinery. You have everything to do. Otherwise, that is empty talk.
Let's get the legal perspective from Wakili here. And Tolson has brought about good issues that if at all, let's go for these people. Let's just talk, talk in public gatherings. And being in a position of power, they can be able to do that. And still on the rallies, just that Amunga has talked about, Raila Odinga is not somebody who needs to be funded to pull the crowds. We have seen this over and over, year in, year out.
And if he gets funded, there's no condemnation.
No, try so.
I think this is just storm in a teacup. I think the people in government need to get the agenda right of what it is that they're supposed to do. As I think I would want to agree with Alenga that it's not criminal for Raila to actually convene public gatherings to talk about issues which touch Mwananchi. And if there was anything criminal, that rally couldn't have happened. So Raila is just speaking to the hearts of his people, telling them, you know, you were promised 1, 2, 3. Does not come to pass. We need to first again reunite and then find our way forward to push government to deliver these things. Instead of government taking the cue from them and saying we are going to deliver 1, 2, 3, they're actually coming back to bastardize them, to actually condemn them, and forgetting their key role that they are now in government. They are behaving as if they were still in opposition. So I don't see anything wrong with what the opposition is doing, and government actually needs to start pulling up their socks and working. They should actually tell us that, you know, the issue you are complaining about, Ugali, we have put measures 1, 2, 3 to ensure that Ugali goes down. The issue of, we say that when the Bible goes down, the cost of living goes down. We have put 1, 2, 3 measures to ensure that that goes down. From the time we took over power, the president took over power, we have not seen fuel go down. It's actually gone up. Taxes have actually increased on every other aspect of life. So much as they are telling us that, you know, the people who were in the former regime never paid taxes, that's where they are funding, that is a ploy. Go for them. And much as they didn't pay taxes, but we are paying taxes. Why don't you tell us what you are doing with the taxes you are giving first before you start telling us that people have not paid? And I mean, why have you telling us? Why don't you just go for them and arrest them and arraign them in court? Or I mean, confiscate their property. I mean, poor Kenyans, if you don't pay tax, your property is taken away. You suffer the consequences right there and then. There is what is called the state agency, which is actually out to ask every Kenyan, whatever wealth you have, you explain to them how you got it, which even goes against the criminal threshold, where that it's the government which is supposed to prove that you have this thing illegal. Now it's you actually supposed to prove how you got it. So there is every mechanism, there is every institution the government can be able to use to get this particular tax, but they don't do it. They're just politicking and telling us, you know, those people who were in the former regime are the one funding, they don't want to pay taxes. Those are lies.
Amunga, you want to respond to the allegation. And it's true, the government is always talking about the past.
No.
And the DP has been quoted like more than 20 times.
Prime Minister, Musalia Mudavadi. Every time you listen to Musalia, you will rarely hear politics. And actually, Musalia is the action part of government. When you look at his roles, he's not talking. No, listen, when you look at his roles, his roles are actually about that. You see, the president and the deputy president, they play both roles. They can play the political role, they also can play the executive role. But you see, the prime minister, who speaks now the role that goes down with work in government, has proved to us, to Kenyans, that this government is working. Let me tell you, there are some things you don't need to speak in public. The truth of the matter is, people who it's something called due process. You are not going to arrest somebody from the street and tell him you are not paying taxes and take him to jail. As Wakili puts it, yes, you are first identified, then the records have to be brought somewhere. The DPP has to write a file on you. If it is the EAC has to write a file on you, it is that file that to be presented to court before anything now goes. So it all starts with something called due process. A Kenyan cannot just be arrested.
Doing a lot of politics.
So this politics is to show Kenyans that we are not just sleeping. The deputy president has been on record many times telling us the cartels in the coffee industry, the cartels in the tea industry are facing it rough. They may not come out to a show like this one and tell us that I'm getting it rough. Many of the doors and the windows that they have been using to cut out money and funds meant for Kenyans have already been shut. The tax evasion that we have been talking about, right now most of those companies actually are paying tax. What we are now talking about is what they didn't pay they're behind. That's now what they're talking about, to recover that, and that is due process. But just to say something else, Kenyans, we can't continue just being a politicking society, just talking. When you accuse government of doing politics, you're forgetting that the other fingers are also pointing at the opposition. The opposition is doing more politics than anything else.
They should.
If they were to do the check and balances on the government, what motion have they brought in parliament to show us, to put the government in check? What thing have they brought out tangible, apart from telling us about Chebukati? What else? Tell me something different.
I'm quite sure that they have told us as opposition the coming month, we're going to be having fireworks. And another thing, when we're talking about when I'm in power, it's like when I'm in my house and I'm saying that there's somebody in this house who's not doing A, B, C, D, and it's my own house. Because we'll talk about cartels. This is the best time, this is the best opportunity to have the names in the tea industry, the coffee industry. We have Gisore, who is the cartel, the main cartel in the coffee industry. In the tea industry, we have Mwalimu Amunga. Yes. We have Alenga. Yes. But we still have the cartels, and we have the mask on. It's the time to peel back the mask.
And it's true, and that is the point. The only problem is we have something in this country called due process. Kenya is not a banana republic. You may know something about Mwalimu Amunga, but you will not just go and pick him on the streets and deal with him. This Wakili who seated here with us will tell you, you won't touch me even if somebody come touch me here. Because at the end of the day, the country, and one time President Uhuru Kenyatta said it, and when he said it, we thought he was joking. Uhuru Kenyatta asked a group of people who are seated at State House, he said, my hands are tied. Do you know how his hands are tied? And I've said it on this show with Alenga many times. Our lawyers took over most of this constitution, and I blame them, and one of them is seated here. They wrote our constitution. They put in so many of those things they call checks and balances, mostly to enrich themselves. There is nothing you can do in this country without a lawyer trying to cross in front of you and say this is wrong, should have done it this way, this is the due process. The problem in this country, and Uhuru Kenyatta said it, my hands are tied. I may get somebody and take him to the court, but if I don't have the evidence, I don't have everything ready, that person will walk scot-free.
All right. Let me just respond, because Amunga is agreeing with what we are saying. Actually, that don't just proclaim things outside there. Follow the due process and bring these people to book. When you go to a gathering and tell us people are refusing to pay taxes in this country, people are cartels in this country, you know what? The consequence of that, you're a whining president. You're telling us you are as helpless as we are. So whom do we run to if there is a cartel finishing the country? If you have executive power to bring that to an end, please do it.
All right, and still, because of the interest of time, something that the president has been passionate about is the creation of the office of the official opposition. Just like Amunga is talking about, the opposition is not doing anything. There will be quite a strong office. Gisore, what does it take for us to have that office? And bearing in mind that now the opposition, led by Azimio, don't recognize the president or the presidency, does this change the matrix?
I think it's also, from me, I can actually see it's politics 101, which is being played, because you want to get the people in opposition out of the streets, and then you put them in government office so that they can actually be able to be spoken to in a manner that they can be able to understand. And to look into that story keenly, you will actually realize it's trying to paralyze Azimio. Because who is going to be given that particular docket? It means if you take Raila, it means Kalonzo will be unhappy and the rest of the other people in Azimio will be unhappy. It means now we worked for you and you are in office. Because that office is going to come with a package, and that package is what is not going to be enjoyed by the other people you are fighting with. So that is, I think, I'm reading politics into that. But there's no problem in having that, because that has been the talk of town, that we actually need the leader of opposition checking government from parliament. But now the agenda behind it is what we cannot be able to tell, and we can be able to read a lot of politics into that. If it could be out of a clean heart that we actually need that, and then we have mechanisms, and of course the constitution will be looked at to ensure that this office is established, then there wouldn't be any problem. But what time is it being raised? What is the agenda? That is where the problem lies. And let me respond to what my good panelist Munga has just said, that the lawyers made the constitution to be able to favor themselves. The president himself yesterday, if I heard him correctly, he said he participated in the process of making the constitution, and he actually ensured, he's very aware. He said he's very lucky. How can Amunga be speaking from government and actually disowning that it's only the lawyers who made the constitution? It's actually not true.
The president participated, but you remember he was on the no side. So
Amunga, you have the freedom to speak the way you're speaking because of the constitution. So you cannot actually be enjoying the same right while actually using it to castigate and saying, these lawyers. That is further from the truth. What the government needs to do is to stop this scaremongering and, of course, mudslinging the opposition and actually get to work. Amunga is agreeing with what we are saying, that actually he does not have evidence of the things he actually is talking about. That's why they have not arrested these people. So it's actually they are playing politics instead of working. So I think he has ended up coming to our side without knowing.
All right. Troy, just a small thing to point out. If you look at the entire length of our constitution, if you read it, all the articles, the constitution only gives mandate to the president and defines what the president shall do. Our constitution therefore lacks to define what the opposition does. So everything that the opposition does then must be extra constitutional. Yeah, because there is no definition of the office of the what the opposition can do.
Have the final say. Parents, take advantage of the junior secondary. It's already on. Take your children. The minister has already declared it's 15,000 shillings per child per the capitation. Things are running. This government is running. It is nothing like anybody sleeping on the job. Our president is one of the people who wakes up early in the morning. Our ministers are up to the task. We are ready to serve this country. Ignore the noise coming from Kabuji and Jacaranda.
All right. Well said. That is Peter Amunga. We have Tostan Alenga. Both are governance experts. It's a good thing you have put in that education point, because you are also an educationist and you also had a constitutional lawyer who is also a political analyst. That is Gibson Gisore. Thank you so much indeed for joining. Let's continue this conversation on social media. I'm Ben Troy Njue, and earlier on we had Lensa Odingo as our sign language interpreter. Now we have Susan Thuku as our sign language interpreter. The show continues. I'm giving the baton to the Swahili desk with Kurunzi Mashinani and Tamrini. Do have yourself a blessed afternoon. And gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. For your insight as well. You should have come earlier. So that maybe you could have been roasted, I see.
I found when they already had their benchmarks.
That's a valid point. A valid point. Valid point. Oh my God. Thank you so much indeed, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
Has taken with fake news.
Been waiting for 6 hours.
So unajua lazima ungepitia kwa ofisi.
Kwa nini
ukuniambia uliuza gari yako? Gari yangu? Hapana, gari yangu iko kwa mechanic. Zelani?
Lulu aliona kwa ghetto na mtu mwingine.
Well, Melissa, unaweza tueleza jana usiku around saa 4 hivi ulikuwa wapi?
Kwa babangu. Why?
Tunachunguza mauaji.
Melissa, what has she gone and gotten herself into this time? As if we don't have enough trouble as it is.
You guys are here wasting your time when you should be out there finding the people responsible.
Cheki Buddha, so ujibonge. Nisaidie nisaidie.
I have a surprise for you, Nanny. For me? Oh, wow. Oh, son! What about Rodrigo? Rodrigo? I'm going to get him out of my head.
I came here to officially ask your father and his wife for Karina's hand.
Oligario.
Mrs. Ricarda, it's been so long.
What are you doing? What the heck is the matter with you, Sergio?